Hi, this is Emily Saliers from Indigo Girls, and you're listening to Rainbow Country.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, actor, erotic provocateur, and anti-ageist David Pevsner is my guest to talk about Damn Shame, his memoir that deals with desire, defiance, and show tunes. That and more coming up on episode 288, so stay tuned for Gay Talk Radio right here on Rainbow Country.
Hi, I'm Simone Denny.
Hi, I'm Mary John Torrey.
I'm Joey Lamar, best-selling author of Mambo Lips and Salsa Hips. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to a brand new journey through Rainbow Country. As I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT-FM in Toronto, and now proudly in syndication on 12 outlets across Canada. So whether you're listening in the Yukon, British Columbia, the Prairies, the East Coast of Canada in the Maritimes, Ontario, even down to Buffalo, New York, and online. Thanks to you tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. Together we continue to build Rainbow Country into a nationally syndicated gay radio show, a #1 LGBT podcast on Podomatic.com's Gay and Lesbian chart, as well as being recognized as Canada's #2 LGBT podcast on Feedspot.com. So today, over the course of his 40-plus year showbiz career, he has done it all. Broadway, off-Broadway, TV, and film. 2022 marks Damn Shame, his memoir, a memoir of desire, defiance, and what else? Show tunes. Actor, erotic provocateur, and anti-ageist David Pevsner joins me in conversation to talk about what inspired his memoir, his time as a male escort, and so much more. Plus an hour two, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house, and on this episode I'm featuring some classic house, some classic Canadian 80s, as well as a spotlight on American trans artist Rye Daisies and American lesbian rapper Jazzy J. So when I return, my conversation with erotic provocateur David Pevsner, who will also treat us to some readings from his memoir, Damn Shame. And I will say this, this conversation has some strong language because of the subject matter. We're talking about sex, we're talking about sexuality, and we do go there. So, forewarned is forearmed.
Bill 7, to ban discrimination in employment, government services, and housing, based on a person's sexual orientation, was up for a vote at Queen's Park. Most NDP and Liberal MPPs supported the bill, but without some progressive Conservative legislators' backing, a divisive split could rack the province. 4 PCs decided to break party ranks to vote with their conscience and support Bill 7. Cabinet Minister and MPP Dennis Timbrell did it to show solidarity for his beloved brother, the well-known drag queen Rusty Ryan. And for me, a gay politician who was not yet out, I had to take a stand. We were known as the Gang of Four. I'm former Cabinet Minister and MPP Phil Gillies. The date, December 2nd, 1986, when LGBT rights came to Ontario.
Hi, I'm Eric Radford, Olympic and world champion figure skater, pianist, and composer, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Terra.
You're a pro at this, so...
No. The only place I can do it is in my closet. So I have the backdrop up, and so you don't see, the mess. Back in the closet again.
David Pevsner, are you in the closet?
I am in the closet. Back in the closet.
Wow.
Just physically, though. Emotionally and out in the world, not at all.
Shall we begin?
Let's do it. We had drinks in his room a few more times, and each time I loosened up enough, first to let him kiss me, I think I passed out for a second, then to make out, eventually with tongues, but he knew I wasn't ready to push things forward. Though I was insane with desire whenever our lips touched, I would resist his advances when it got too involved. What I put him through. Jesus. After a week after my first 7-7 encounter with Stan, after I got particularly plowed by the alcohol, not him, we took a walk into Shenley Park. It was a frozen evening, and we were both bundled up in winter coats, sweaters, shirts, hats, scarves, layer upon layer. It was too cold for anyone to be out, but we found a spot to sit away from the wind. And as we talked, we inched closer and closer until our bodies were hugging, entwined, a mass of woolly layers and horny boys. I felt his hand start to wander, and I sat, a bundle of tension, as he worked that hand in an almost comical journey through that mass, first unzipping my coat, just enough to get his hand on my thick cable knit sweater, which he lifted up so that he could get through to the button-down shirt, undoing 3 buttons to get through to the T-shirt underneath, which he gently tugged out of my pants, and the shock of his cold hand touching my naked flesh made me shake with a need I didn't even know I had. And I kept taking in little short bursts of air as if I was on a funhouse ride that I couldn't get off if I tried. None of my skin was exposed to the elements. I was still buried in warm layers against the cold dryness of the evening, and he just kept burrowing deeper and deeper and lower, and I thought I was going to die, just die, as he began finagling open my belt so that he could undo the clasp of my pants to get to the zipper, lowering it with care, pushing away the sides of the open fly, gently rubbing his palm up and down the bulge of my Hanes until he pulled down the waistband and let his index finger barely graze the tip of my rock-hard cock, and the instant he made contact, boom! My body exploded from within, and I shot and shot and shot and shot and shot, and he held me close, and I whimpered and cried and felt his hand pull away, slowly retracting back through the maze so that he could wrap his arms around me and just let me be in the ecstasy, emotion of the moment. When the storm passed, we barely said a word as I hitched up my pants and got myself presentable. And he took my hand, and we walked back to our respective dorms in total silence. When I got back to my room, I looked for any signs that it had happened, but I could find no dried jizz, nothing from what felt like gallons of cum shooting out of me on any of the layers of clothing. It was the immaculate ejaculation.
David Pevsner, hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am well. I have to say thank you for being here, to have your voice, your story be heard by the LGBT community and beyond, especially to talk about your latest endeavor, your memoir. This is your life story so far. Damn
Up
shame.
until now, from birth until now, yeah.
Damn Shame, a memoir of desire, defiance, show tunes. Let's start here. Show tunes. What are some of your favorite show tunes?
Well, I think I started out with Funny Girl. Anything from Funny Girl, anything that Barbra Streisand sang. That was the album that my parents had in those. We had like a hi-fi stereo, the kind that had the TV in the middle and the stereo on the side and the records on the other side. And it smelled like it was burning as it warmed up. So the one show tune album that they actually had two, but the one that I kind of played over and over was the Funny Girl original cast album. So it all started with Don't Rain on My Parade and I'm the Greatest Star. So that's how the show tune Love started. But I sang show tunes at the top of my lungs in the basement when nobody was home. Once Upon a Mattress and Seesaw and Fiddler on the Roof, anything that I get my hands on at the library. And then eventually, I started writing my own songs and I became a musical comedy actor in New York and on Broadway and off Broadway. And I loved my show tunes. My show tunes kind of were my way into kind of expressing what's inside of me beyond what I could say.
You even have a record out.
I do. I have a CD of original songs that I wrote called Most Versatile. Mm-hmm. And so that's available online for download. Mm-hmm. And there's songs that have been in my 2 one-man shows, in other little things here and there. But I the idea of songs in musicals are that you have to sing. You can't talk anymore, so you have to sing. And I always loved how show tunes kind of elevated the emotional aspect of the situation. And I think that's why we gays kind of, not everybody, of course, I'm stereotyping, but we kind of moved towards show tunes and Liza and Barbara and Bet because their emotionality was so big. And inside, I felt like we were holding our emotions back because of being in the closet, and so it was just, everything was bubbling up inside, and God, how much we would have loved to have just let it out and gone up to some boy and said, I love you, and sung a love song to him. But we couldn't do that, or at least back then we couldn't. So, so show tunes kind of have a place in my heart.
And rightfully so. Talk to me about Damn Shame. This is your story, your life story, your memoir. At the heart of this book, at the heart of this memoir, what are you trying to express to your audience?
Well, the whole story, it's not just a story of I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Almost everything is put into the context of body shame and sexuality. My struggle with my body image and my shame about sexuality has been a lifelong thing, to the point where as a little boy, I needed to cover up my body and I was ashamed of it, and I was skinny and I was bad in school. I'm not bad in school. I was bad at gym class, and the boys called me faggot and they pushed me over, and I knew they called me faggot before I even really knew what faggot was. I had no idea that it had a sexual connotation to it. And they didn't either, actually. They were just like, oh, he's a little prissy boy. So my whole life has been about kind of looking at all that stuff that started out so young for me and how it manifested in my teenage years, in my young adult years, my middle age, and how I've dealt with it all. And I know, when it comes to the sexual aspect of it, I went places that a lot of people wouldn't have in order to kind of explore. From being a skinny boy to somebody who built himself up to be the kind of man that I thought I wanted to be and that I was after sexually, and then turning that into stints as a naked maid and a model, an erotic model, and a male escort. These were all things I needed to explore because there was something in me that was like, do I measure up? Can I be, from being the skinny, ugly Jewish boy that I always thought I was, can I be the kind of guy that somebody would pay money to have sex with, or would want to look at me in a photo or whatever? But on the road, I kind of learned more and more about not just about the body and not just about the face. When you're an escort, you have to you have sex with men that you necessarily wouldn't have found attractive, but I found I could learn how to find them attractive by looking at their personality and their sweetness and their warmth and all the other things that people have besides just their bodies and their looks. So it was really, it was a total changeable moment in my life when I did that. And then how that kind of fed the rest of my life, and in search for love and success and money and all that stuff. So the book is really an ongoing journey to now where I'm 63 and still not done. I talk a lot about ageism. By the time I get to that, it's a lot about ageism and about how people seem to feel that they're left behind when they hit a certain age, that they, sexually they're done, and they kind of go, well, I'm downhill and my body's failing and this, that, the other thing. And they just feel redundant. And it hurts my heart because, especially if you're 60 something, you have 20, maybe 30 years ahead of you. You just can't give up that fast. So I'm hoping that the book will encourage people to say, hey, here's what I've got and here's what I like, and I'm going to still pursue it. And if I'm alone, then, and I like being alone, then enjoy being alone. If I'm alone and I don't want to be alone, see who's out there for you, and don't make the rules. Don't be, well, I only look at guys who are, 33 and blonde. Well, if that's how you're living your life, then chances are you might just be alone for the rest of your life. So expand upon, think differently about who you are at any age, really. And that's what I want the book to kind of encourage people to feel better about sex, to feel less shameful about it, their bodies, love who you are right now. And if you don't, eat a little better, get a little exercise, but don't shut yourself out because you don't like what you see in the mirror,
Another aspect of your book that you talk about is society's demonization of gay sex. Can you give me some specifics when you say society's demonization of gay sex? How does that manifest, in your opinion?
Well, when you said that, what immediately comes to mind is love the sinner, hate the sin. The very evangelical and right-wing attitude about the LGBTQ community is like,
you can be gay, just don't do gay things.
Exactly. And even when we had like Will and Grace, which was great because we were starting to see more depictions of us on TV, but they weren't having sex. Will wasn't having sex for the longest time. And even now, you talk to some people about, it's getting better, certainly. I mean, I haven't watched Euphoria, but I've seen some clips from it. The media matters, how we are portrayed in the media, because kids watch it, adults watch it, and the more positive, not only positive depictions we have of gay people, but also normalizing sex, penises and two men kissing and two men fucking and whatever it is, everything that the straight people are doing, we should be able to do as well, and not have people go, ew, which they do. And I've had it with that. I've just absolutely had it with that. We can look, I'm not one who looks at a man and a woman together having sex and go, ooh, but there are people who look at two men together and go, ooh, and I'm sorry. All we want is equality. I can look at you, you can look at me. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to express myself in photos and videos sexually, because I just think that there's things we haven't seen and conversations we're not having about sex that would help to open people's minds about it, to cut out this shame and embarrassment I get very passionate about this because I feel like I lived my whole life feeling afraid of being gay for the longest time, feeling terrible if I ever had to take my shirt off anywhere, and kind of putting it all together, tying in nudity with sex, which made me very, I just had a lot of issues about all that growing up, as you can tell, but I am not alone. A lot of people feel that way. And I want us, if somebody has a problem with gay sex, if somebody has a problem with nudity, instead of just having them spout out and put it out there and demonize us, as I said, I want them to go further, and I want to say, why? Why do you have that problem? Well, it's a religious thing. Well, why is it a religious thing? Where is it? No, it doesn't say that there. So tell me why. I want people to go further than just, oh, you're a bigot, leave me alone. Or you are, you have a problem with looking at a picture of me naked. Okay, I understand that. You don't have to look at it, but then shut up about it. I just feel that we have gone in the wrong direction about things like sex and nudity, and we need to go more head on. No more coyness about it. Judd Apatow said back in 2007 or something, when I think he was doing Forgetting Sarah Marshall, he said, I want to normalize the penis. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Same thing with John Cameron Mitchell in his movie Short Bus, where there is graphic sex that tells everything you need to see about the characters. The way they have sex tells you so much about them. Why can't we have more of that? We haven't seen it in a studio film. So and people say, well, I don't want to see that. Well, I get that, but there are people who do want to see it. And there are directors who would be great putting that together, and actors who might be willing to do it. Mark Rylance, one of my favorite actors, did a movie called Intimacy. And in the first scene, he's getting his hard cock sucked by Carrie Fox. And the reason it's so moving as it goes on is it's this anonymous casual sex that they have. And he follows her home one day and finds out what a shitty life she has. So that sex, that hunger that they bring to the sexual aspect of it is really palpable. And it could be really great, but nope, ooh, no, scary, ooh, butthole, no. I mean, sorry, I could go on, but it's all in the book. Plus, the book is very funny too. It's not just me ranting. There's bits of me ranting, but it's not all like that.
Quote, David Pevsner is so much more than the half man, half horse he played in When Pigs Fly. Personally, I couldn't ask for much more than a half man, half horse, but hey, that's just me. Unquote.
I know who that is.
That's from fellow actor and writer Bruce Vilanch,
yeah.
Who in the early 2000s was the head writer for the Academy Awards, among other things. Mm-hmm. I have to say this. He co-wrote Eartha Kitt's 1984 album, I Love Men. And out of that
I love a man. Yes. I love a man.
And there was a big, maybe it was a cult hit, a gay hit, whatever. Where Is My Man? I play that on my show all the time. It's like 10 minutes. I love that song. I love that album. Talk to me about Bruce Vilanch and how you know Bruce Vilanch.
Oh, how do I know Bruce originally? Well, I think
because he started as a kid actor.
Yeah, but I didn't meet, where I think I met Bruce for the first time was originally he was going to, I wrote some songs that found their way into the show Naked Boys Singing, which has been playing over 20 years in New York, outside of New York, all over the world. And originally, it's a review, but originally they were going to have a script. And I believe that Bruce wrote the script for it. And then they decided they just wanted to make it a review. So there are a few things of his still in it. And I think I might have met him the first time I went to see the show in LA. Or I may have met him when he came to see When Pigs Fly, which in New York. It's probably even before that when I still lived in New York. My memory, senility is setting in fast and furious. In 1984, when Vanessa Williams' Penthouse photos were published, and she got stripped of the Miss America crown, I was all up in arms, furious. I heard she was giving a press conference at the Sheraton Center Hotel in Midtown Manhattan, and I had to be there. I don't remember her denying, decrying, or apologizing for the posing she had done. The photos were pretty explicit. She wasn't having intercourse, but she was naked with another woman and, horrors, giving and receiving tongue in places society frowned upon with someone of the same sex. In making sure my memory served me correctly, I Googled the whole situation, and it turns out she was quoted as saying she regretted doing it, that young people do stupid things. However, she also said she had not committed an act of, quote, moral turpitude. So at least she didn't back away and say it was disgusting and awful, and she did not apologize. She said if the pageant wanted to take away her crown, which they did, so be it. She focused more on the legality of posting photos when she was promised they would never get out. She handled it well, and I believe the fact that she addressed everything head on without apology is why she continues to have a successful career, and this did not ruin her. Today, it seems that whenever a celebrity has nude pics leaked on the internet, it's a huge deal, gigantic, an incredible violation of privacy, a travesty, a crime, an emotional nightmare. I contend that, though it may be exciting for the viewer to see a celebrity in the all-together or copulating, maybe for the subject of the photos, it ain't such a big deal. Once it's out there, why are they so concerned that America, the world, is watching them naked, hard, having sex, whatever? My take is the Vanessa Williams rule. Own it. Don't apologize. Do not say the words, "I'm sorry." Say, "Yep, that's me. I look pretty good, don't I?" And if you own it, I believe they cannot come for you. My friend Steve, who worked in high-profile public relations for years, says the cardinal rule in his business is always take control of your own story. Prime advice. It's when you cower and apologize and put yourself on their level of screwed-up morality that you get in trouble. And as I earlier noted, that screwed-up morality was coming at us fast and furious, and I was done with it.
And on that note, we will return after this Rainbow Country update.
Hi, everyone. This is Mark Tewksbury, Olympic champion, leader, humanitarian. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Canada's LGBTQ2+ archives just released Out North, an archive of queer activism and kinship in Canada. Order a copy from your local bookstore to dive into hundreds of loud and proud stories and photos of historical queer life in Canada from pre-1939 to today. Get your copy from your local bookstore. Out North, an archive of queer activism and kinship in Canada.
Hi, I'm Keegan Hurst, former professional rugby player, coach, raving homosexual, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Your show business career spans over, 40 years?
Yeah.
Broadway, off-Broadway, films, network TV shows like Grey's Anatomy, Modern Family, Criminal Minds. How did you originally get turned on to the performing arts? Originally?
First off, by watching, I joke, 25 hours of TV a day when I was a little kid. And I mean, when I was a little kid. As soon as I could turn on the TV myself, I started watching it. And then I knew that it was something I loved the commercials. So honestly, it all started when I would sing commercial jingles in the back seat of our car whenever we would go on a car trip anywhere. I would be in the back and we'd be driving and suddenly I'd go, "Get Ajax, the blue dot cleanser." And I would do that. And my sisters would look at me like, "Shut the hell up." But it didn't deter me at all. I just got out there and sang in the back seat until we got where we were going. And my parents didn't shut me up and my sisters ignored me, but I didn't care. I just enjoyed doing it. So that's kind of where it started. And then in grammar school, I started writing, like from first grade on, I started writing little playlets where I would write a little sketch and I would get the girls to be in them with me. And we would like take a song and make a story about it. And we would do them in class. And, you know, the boys would be like, ugh, that little faggot. Like, you know, I could tell that they were not impressed, but I didn't care. You know, the teacher loved it. The girls loved it. So I had my own little like kind of theater troupe in a way. So that's where it started.
So you are an actor, you're a singer, you are now an author. Let's talk about who should play who, or who should play whom, or however you want to word it. Over the past few years, some actors, straight actors, have taken some heat for playing trans characters, playing gay characters. Case in point, Eddie Redmayne, the Danish Girl, he plays a trans character. Jared Leto in Dallas Buyers Club plays a trans woman. Halle Berry backed out of a project because she would be playing a trans man. You're an actor. You're in that world. And you're also part of the LGBT community. You're gay. How do you see what's been happening when it comes to who should be playing who?
It's interesting. And I've never had an opportunity to talk about this. But I need to separate the T from the rest of it first. Trans. In my mind, I understand when they have a big movie star play a character because they need to make money on the film. But for me, there are so many good trans actor and actresses out there, really good ones that should have the opportunity to get that role. They should go to them first and then surround them with all the movie stars they want to sell the movie, you know. But I think that, you know, if you don't go with like Alexandra Billings, I mean, is brilliant. A brilliant actress, a brilliant singer. And so she should have first dibs at certain things, you know, certain roles. And if they don't come to her first and they give it to Jared Leto, then it's just, you know, it's doing a disservice to that part of the community, especially now that we see so many, you know, it's not just like there's 2 trans actors anymore. There's a lot, you know, so there's a pool to go from. And then as far as, you know, gay, I think Darren Criss said, you know, he's not going to play any more gay roles because
he played Gianni Versace,
right? After that, he said, yeah, I'm not going to do any more because I think that it should go to gay people. Well, here's my opinion on that. I think we're going through that period where it's going to be difficult, where the gay people, you know, should be playing those roles. But here's my thought. I do believe that the best person should get the role. I also believe that many times when I've seen straight actors play gay roles, even really good actors, I don't believe them for a second. Okay. There are really good straight actors who have played gay roles, and there are great gay actors who have played straight roles. So all I'm saying is, to get to the point, it should be equal. Gay people should be able to play all the straight roles, and straight people should play all the gay roles. As if there was an equal, if it wasn't just like, well, there's only 4 gay guys I would hire to play a straight role. That sucks because there's plenty of gay guys who could play straight roles. And it doesn't matter if the public like sees them kissing their boyfriend in real life. It's a movie. They're actors. Get over it. So as soon as there is that equality about all gay actors can play straight roles, all straight actors can play gay roles, then I won't have a problem with straight guys playing gay roles. I don't want to hear how brave they are, though. That got old a long time ago. He's so brave, you know, to do that scene where he's getting fucked by that guy. It's not brave. It's your job, you know? But did you see what I'm saying? That the pool, like for instance, there are certain guys they're so well, like, I don't know who I'm thinking of, but if they're known really well as a gay actor, and so the producer goes, well, we can't have him then play the straight role. That's where I have the problem. Let him come in, blow you away, make you convinced that he's the guy for the role, and then shut the fuck up. Equality, just like anything else.
There's a term, queer baiting, where a piece of media hints at queerness being presented in that piece of media, but actually doesn't include any queer representation or very maybe even very little, or it just hints at it. Enter Power of the Dog. Have you seen this movie?
I don't know that I should talk publicly about it. I did see it.
Okay. I've seen it too, and I've spoken on air about it
Queerbaiting,
once.
yes.
It's a really well-made film. I encourage people to see that film because it is well-made, it's well-acted, it's well-produced, it's well-directed. My only issue with that film is why couldn't there be, maybe in a flashback, and I'm thinking of a specific scene, I call it like the kerchief scene, or the when
you're going to make a Brokeback Mountain reference.
When he's in the forest by himself with a scarf, why couldn't there be some flashbacks of him and his partner when his partner was alive? Why couldn't there be that in that one particular area? Hypothetically, the film is done by Jane Campion, who did The Piano, which won, I think, 3 Oscars. That's my issue with that film. Because the only intimacy is between straight people. Straight people dancing, straight people kissing. What are your thoughts?
You know, it's funny because I'd heard about the film beforehand. So as it's going on about, an hour and a half goes by. I'm like, where's the fucking? I was like, I guess my expectations were that it was going to be more blatant than it was. I think I don't have a problem with kind of underlying sexual tension and making it. The thing is, though, that you see something like Brokeback Mountain and you go, oh, thank God for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That, like, why did I would like to know if the subtlety of Power of the Dog, I kind of want to know if it was purposely to not kind of
humanize?
Humanize or just make more implicit the sexual tension there, okay, and where it came from, rather than just looking at a couple of bodybuilding books. I think it's interesting. I mean, the whole movie is subtle. Give me a plot, because this movie really didn't have a plot per se. It was character studies. So I applaud that she did it so subtly, to the point where at the end of the movie, I was like, wait, what happened? How did that happen? What? And I had to go back and experience it again to figure it out. Now I don't want to give anything away. But yeah, I mean, I was like, it was just disappointing to me. I don't know so much that it was queer baiting, because that's how she decided to tell the story. And I don't think it was necessary.
When you look at the trailers, it makes
it more overt.
It's overt. It's like, oh, what's going to happen in this movie?
Okay. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. See, I think that's a bit of an issue then. I didn't see the trailer for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I saw a film once. It was the opening night of Outfest. I'm not going to say the name of the film. Opening night with a queer director and big deal thing. And I'm watching this movie, and there are 2 kind of sideline characters who are gay, and everything else had to do with the straight people's conflicts. And I went, okay, I get that there's some gay characters in here, and fine, put it in the festival, but don't make it opening night. What the hell was that all about? It so did not speak to the gay experience, except on like a little sideline in the back. So, I want us to be incorporated into stories. I want it to be interchangeable with gay and straight characters, and you don't even notice that they're gay and straight. They just are people. But when you do the opening night of a gay film festival and you do that, I'm sorry, that really turned me off. That was not my favorite moment of movie theater going.
My last thing with Power of the Dog is it's being celebrated. It's getting all these nominations, and it's probably going to get some Academy Award nominations. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because again, it's well acted, it's well made.
A little slow,
but sure.
But no, and really good actors.
Why couldn't there have been a flashback in that one particular area? Because he's being vulnerable.
But there's nothing in the movie everything in the movie is subtle. Everything is pretty subtle. I mean, not Benedict Cumberbatch's character. That's not a subtle character, but what he's going through, what's underneath is very subtle. So maybe it was just, this is a study in studying, like, don't blink in this movie, because there were lots of little, things that were going on, moments between actors. There's a moment that at first I thought bad acting, but then in the end, when you realize why he's doing it, like when the kid first really starts to connect with the Benedict Cumberbatch character, and he gets down on his knees and says something like, "Phil, tell me about that." And it seemed really like earnest, like overly earnest. And I thought, ooh, because I thought the kid was great. But in that moment, I was like, ooh, I don't believe that for a second. Well, then when you find out what happens,
because he
was setting him up. He was setting him up to be like, oh, I'm really interested in you, So bravo, but I did have to kind of go back. In the moment, it just struck me as bad acting. But in retrospect, it was like, wow, that was really good acting and a really good choice.
Earlier,
it's an interesting conversation that, again, we need to keep having, because we are now here.
We need to be having this conversation with the filmmakers,
and there's
why they made the decision that they did.
There are a lot of really, filmmakers who really. I have a friend who is a producer, pretty big producer, and has done stuff for all kinds of all the studios, but it works for Disney. And I said to him, because I'm an erotic model and I have an erotic presence on the internet. And I said, would that stop me from being cast in one of your films? And he said, well, yeah, honestly, it would. He said, if it were up to me, it wouldn't, but to them, yeah. And I thought, okay, we're talking Disney, so I kind of get it, but in a way I don't. I'm like, what? Everybody needs to just fucking chill out, because we all have sex lives. We all, the fact that if you won't hire me because my dick's on the internet. Well, how about the fact that, Tim Allen, who was a convicted felon, had a sitcom. So, a drug felon. So, like, why is any of it an issue? I want to normalize it, because it's part of being gay, being, our bodies, we have cocks, get over it. Yeah. There's, again, I don't want to like go off into a whole crazy rant here, but, the media, and the business have a little ways to go. They're getting better.
Earlier, you talked about working as an escort.
Mm-hmm.
What did that for you? What did you learn from that experience?
Well, first of all, I learned that I am more...
How to suck a dick?
Well, I already knew that. And I knew how to fucking get fucked as well. So I brought all that knowledge and experience. But I also...
your job.
That was my job. I did my job, and I did it well, and I enjoyed it. Because I found that this job wasn't just about having sex. It was about being an ear when somebody needed it. It was about caretaking. It was about being kind. It was about being supportive. It was about, making somebody feel sexy when they didn't feel sexy. It was such a positive, like every positive aspect that I could bring to it, I did. And I had clients who were really happy that I was there. And it was something that, again, I started out by feeling like I wanted to prove that I could do it. Hey, am I handsome enough? Or am I, is my body good enough that somebody would pay? That's kind of why I wanted to get interviewed to do it, because I went to an actual interview, and it was a pretty funny story in the book. But it became something else once I actually got the job and thinking, well, I don't think I'm going to actually do it. And then I did it, and I found out it was much more than I thought it was going to be. And the people that I worked with were I thought it was going to be, it was going to be all drugs and I thought somebody's going to beat me up. I mean, none of that happened. I mean, it was all a very positive experience. And I came out of it, as I said before, I learned a lot about men doing it. I learned to stop narrowing my focus so much on looks and open it up to what's going on inside a person's heart or their head or their needs. it changed me. It absolutely changed me when it came to me and men.
Were your clientele, were they mostly gay, mostly in the closet, married men?
Combination, all over the place. Yeah. I had one guy who, I remember I went to his hotel on Sunset Boulevard, and I walked in, he was kind of atypical in that he was stunning, absolutely stunning, and younger. And after we had sex, he told me that his wife had died just recently. And he just wanted to feel something, and he knew that his proclivities were leading more towards, so he felt a lot of guilt about it. He felt so much pain about his wife's death. And he just thanked me, and he said, I didn't want to tell you originally because I didn't want you to judge me, but I felt like I could tell you afterwards. So thanks for coming by. It wasn't just about, hey, I'm going to, it wasn't that at all. There was so much more. There is always so much more involved to a tryst. I won't say always. Sometimes it is, show up, fuck them, and leave. But even that is something that they needed, that they wanted. And it fulfills something. So sex work to me, you say you do sex work and people look at you like, oh, well, then I can't hire you and I don't want you as a boyfriend and da-da-da-da. Well, you know what? Screw you. There's a lot more to it than you think. And I'd like to see you do it. Not that people want to necessarily. I know. And
in Damn Shame, you talk about older men being seen by younger men as sexually irrelevant.
There's a whole chapter about daddies, and about how, it used to be, I think more and more, because we have otters and daddies and twinks and this, everybody is kind of finding what they like. And, 20 years ago, we didn't really have that. So there were a lot of younger guys who...
And 20 years ago, people would be like, the bears didn't hang out with the queens and
there was just more, there was so much judgment about it. If you weren't kind of like handsome and muscular, people would be really nasty to guys in bars, like, ooh, you've got a gut. Ugh. Like they don't belong there or something. So then those guys would go to the leather bars, but it was very kind of, what's the word when you...
Segregated. See now, it was very kind of segregated in a certain respect. Well, over the years, because people are kind of coming out as a bear, or coming out as a daddy, or coming out as a twink, we're also finding that, oh, that twink likes that daddy. Like for somebody to say that I'm 60 years old and I'm done. No, you're not. You're maybe just looking in the wrong place, because not only are there guys your age who don't want the younger guys, but there are younger guys who do want it, and they're not afraid to say it anymore. Yeah.
So if you've never thought you could date a younger guy, open yourself up to it, because there are lots of younger guys. And even if they look at you and call you daddy, understand that listen to me trying to get words, that the connection in any relationship isn't just, husband and wife or husband and husband. There's so much going on beneath all of that. Sometimes, women are looking for a male father figure to get married to, and men, look for their mothers. And, but that happens in the gay community too. It's not like you're saying like, gee, I want to, if you say I like daddies, you're not saying I want to sleep with my father. You're not saying that. Or some people are, maybe they are, I don't know. But generally, it kind of means I like somebody older. I like somebody with more experience. I like somebody with some lines on their face. I like somebody who's going to treat me nicely, who has more wisdom. There's so much more than just, I don't want to date younger guys. And I just think that if people could open their eyes more, we would be less alone.
I think as a community, we're evolving.
I think so. We still have a ways to go, but I think we are. Yeah. And I still talk with this book. I've talked to so many people who are like, oh God, I couldn't take a picture naked, or I, certainly couldn't do any kind of video. The only time I'm naked is when I'm in the shower. And then I say to them, well, are you okay with that? And some of them say, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. And then others say, no, I kind of wish I wish I could wear a bathing suit and go out and sit in the sun, and to the point where I go, well, what's stopping you? I say, why? I don't want to be judged. Well, why do you think that everybody's looking at you? And why do you care? It always comes down to why. Keep going. Why? And then maybe you can get to the point where they go, oh, yeah, I guess I really don't have anything to be afraid of. Let me go do it.
So 4.5 stars on Amazon.ca, 4.5 stars out of 5.
I'm going for the 5, though. Come on, guys.
It's
Put those
also
5-star reviews in there.
It's also available as an audiobook. I love me a good audiobook.
I had a lot of fun recording that.
When your audiences either read, listen to, damn shame, what's the takeaway that you would like them to ultimately, hopefully, come away with?
The first thing that comes into my mind is I would like them to be kinder to themselves, both physically and emotionally. Let go of regrets. Let go of caring about judgment. Do what your heart tells you to do, and try to find your way to being the most authentic self you can possibly be. I know that sounds like, 80 million other books in a certain respect, but they don't talk about sex, and they don't talk about shame, body image. It's a prevalent thing. And I really hate, especially in America, it's a very American thing. Overseas, some hefty guy in a Speedo wouldn't be looked at twice. In America, it's like, ugh, look at him. Sick of it. Done. It's why I put out the photos that I do on OnlyFans, and why I started doing videos, sexual videos, because I'm sick of people judging that kind of thing. And rather than pull away from it, I decided to just jump in. I've posed for photos for over 20 years, erotic photos. And I always try to bring some kind of art to it. Like some of it's just porn, absolutely. But I try to find some other element to bring some humor to it, or to bring some emotion to it, or whatever, to let people know that, it's not just, when you say sex, sometimes people get this idea in their head of what it is, and that's all it is. And it's not. There are so many elements to sex. There are so many attitudes about sex. And I just want people to, have a healthy attitude about all of that. I talk about how, even though, the younger guys, they've been looking at porn on the internet longer than, we didn't have that back then. So they probably see a lot of sexual stuff that they kind of search for. And I think, in my mind, when you see a guy at the gym, and I write about this in the book, when you see a guy at the gym take off his pants, put a towel around his waist, and then take off his underwear, because he's obviously doesn't want to, be totally naked at the gym, I kind of go like, why does that happen now? Why do they care so much? And so I kind of thought, well, because they've seen a lot of sex and nudity online, and I think that there's no such thing in a way as non-sexual nudity to them. So if they're naked, there's a sexual aspect to it. And that's just not always true. There's a beauty, to nudity, and there's a healthiness to being naked and enjoying your body. So those are things that I want people to be a little clearer on. Just because your penis is, out in the locker room, it doesn't mean somebody wants to suck it. I'm sure there's somebody there who does, but you don't have to know that. I think that we still have a ways to go when it comes to being really healthy about sex and nudity. And I'm hoping that starting those conversations with my book, with other, might help us do that and take the ick out of it.
Well said, David Pevsner. Thank you so much for your time. Well said, well done, well written. Thanks for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I so appreciate it. I was hitting bars, bathhouses, and sex clubs, and even with the beard I was wearing, I was getting to fuck around with the kind of guys I so desired when I was skinny and no one paid attention to me. That book of lust was getting a real workout. Name after name entered and recorded for history in that book. Robbie, Lance, Jamal, and Vince. Boy, was he high maintenance. William, Jerry, Sam, and Mick. Rocky, Douglas, Dick. Oh, Dick. He wasn't Richard. He was Dick. That thing was big and really thick. He schlepped out what he had in store. It hung 6 inches from the floor. Erect? Think of a baseball bat. And then imagine 3 times that. We spent our nights together trying hard to make it fit. After our 3rd date, I couldn't walk, I couldn't sit. And then misfortune ran amok, a horrifying moment, a catastrophe. The final straw, he thrust and oops, he broke my jaw. Larry, Barry, Gary, Dave, all his pubic hair he'd shave. Isai, Juan, and 2 Jose's. That was in my Latin phase. Jordan, Colin, Dirk, and Hunts. Sue, I had to try it once. Famous movie heartthrob. Who? Sorry, but I can't tell you. But the year he won his Golden Globe, I met him backstage in his robe. He shook my hand without disguise. The terry cloth began to rise. He licked his lips. The next thing, boom, I'm on the couch in his dressing room. He became my bottom boy, and I was his top gun. It was risky, just impossible, but really lots of fun. I signed a contract to agree to confidentiality. I say his name, I go to jail, but I swear it's not an old cocktail. From the Book of Lust. Relax, those last 2 stanzas are a fantasy. Don't go sicken the lawyers on me.
Damn Shame is available wherever you get your favorite books. On Amazon.ca, it has a rating of 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's also available as an audiobook read by David Pevsner himself. And for even more on this erotic provocateur, check out his website, davidpevsner.com. And here is a Power of the Dog update. The film leads the way in nominations for the 94th Academy Awards with 12 nominations, including Best Picture. The 94th Academy Awards airs Sunday, March 27th.
Hi, I'm writer Adam Smith, author of Deep Sniff, A History of Poppers and Queer Futures. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
And just like that, this little gay journey through Rainbow Country has come to an end. For the full 2-hour episode, head over to marktara.com where everything is connected and hit the archives banner. Don't forget to keep up to date with the show. Follow me on socials at Mark Tara. The podcast for Rainbow Country is available on all major platforms, including audible.com and iHeart Podcasts. Finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, stay well and stay safe.
Hi, this is Police Constable Danielle Botno, also known as LGBT Cop, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.